Pharaoh Hatshepsut, one of ancient Egypt's most remarkable and enduring rulers, reigned during the 18th dynasty, circa 1507 to 1458 before Common Era. Her reign stands out in Egyptian history, not only because she was a woman who ruled as a pharaoh but also due to the achievements, innovations, and controversies surrounding her rule. Hatshepsut's legacy, which includes vast building projects, significant trade expeditions, and the consolidation of Egypt's power, continues to be a subject of fascination for scholars and historians. This essay delves into the life, reign, and contributions of Hatshepsut, while examining how she established herself in a male-dominated role, her successful leadership, and the efforts to erase her legacy after her death. Early life and rise to power. Hatshepsut was born around 1507 before Common Era to Pharaoh Thutmose I and Queen Ahmose, making her a member of Egypt's prestigious royal family. As the eldest daughter of the pharaoh, she grew up surrounded by the wealth and influence of the royal court. From an early age, she was likely groomed for a significant role in the administration of Egypt, especially given her father's appreciation for her abilities. Hatshepsut married her half-brother, Thutmose II, a common practice among Egyptian royalty intended to consolidate power and keep the royal bloodline intact. When Thutmose II ascended the throne, Hatshepsut became his queen consort. However, Thutmose II's reign was short-lived, and upon his death, the throne passed to his son by a minor wife, Thutmose III. Since Thutmose III was still a child, Hatshepsut initially served as his regent. It was not uncommon for a queen or other close relative to act as regent in the case of a young king. However, after a few years, Hatshepsut took the unprecedented step of declaring herself pharaoh and co-ruler alongside Thutmose III, elevating herself from regent to sovereign. To justify her rule, Hatshepsut presented herself not just as a placeholder for Thutmose III but as a legitimate ruler in her own right. She used various religious and political strategies to legitimize her reign. For example, she claimed divine birth, asserting that the god Amun had taken the form of her father, Thutmose I, and conceived her with her mother, Queen Ahmose. This divine connection provided religious legitimacy for her rule and reinforced her authority in the eyes of the Egyptian people. Hatshepsut's presentation as pharaoh. One of the most striking aspects of Hatshepsut's reign was how she presented herself as a pharaoh. In ancient Egyptian tradition, the pharaoh was always depicted as a male figure, often wearing the royal regalia, including the false beard and the Nemes headdress. Despite being a woman, Hatshepsut adopted all the conventional symbols of pharaonic authority. In statues and reliefs, she is frequently depicted in male attire, including the ceremonial beard. Her decision to adopt the visual and symbolic trappings of male pharaohs was likely a strategic move designed to reinforce her legitimacy in a role traditionally reserved for men. Interestingly, however, not all representations of Hatshepsut were masculinized. In some reliefs, she is shown with feminine features and clothing, suggesting that while she adopted a male persona in formal depictions of kingship, her identity as a woman was not entirely erased. This dual representation highlights the complexities of her rule, as she navigated the expectations of gender and authority in ancient Egypt. Major achievements during Hatshepsut's reign. Hatshepsut's reign was marked by numerous achievements, particularly in the fields of architecture, trade, and foreign policy. One of her most lasting legacies is her extensive building program, which included the construction of monumental temples, statues, and obelisks. She is perhaps best known for the construction of her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, one of the most impressive architectural achievements of ancient Egypt. Located on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, the temple is characterized by its terraces, colonnades, and harmonious integration into the surrounding cliffs. Dedicated to the god Amun and Hatshepsut herself, the temple reflects both her religious devotion and her desire to immortalize her legacy. Hatshepsut also restored and enhanced many older temples that had fallen into disrepair. Her building projects were not only a demonstration of her power and piety but also an effort to solidify her position as a legitimate ruler in the eyes of the gods and the people. Another significant achievement of Hatshepsut's reign was the revival of long-distance trade, which had dwindled during the turbulent years of previous rulers. One of the most famous expeditions she sponsored was to the land of Punt, a region located to the south of Egypt, possibly in the Horn of Africa. The Punt expedition is depicted in detail on the walls of her mortuary temple, illustrating the riches that Egypt received, including gold, ivory, ebony, incense, and exotic animals. The successful trade missions under her reign not only enriched Egypt but also demonstrated her ability to lead and manage the kingdom's resources effectively. In addition to trade, Hatshepsut's reign was relatively peaceful, with few military campaigns. Unlike her predecessors, who often glorified their military conquests, Hatshepsut focused more on internal prosperity and foreign diplomacy. She did, however, maintain the military strength of Egypt, as evidenced by the continued control of Nubia, which was a valuable source of gold and other resources. Legacy and erasure. Despite Hatshepsut's accomplishments and long reign of about 22 years, her legacy was subjected to significant erasure after her death. Thutmose III, who had grown up during her reign and eventually succeeded her, undertook efforts to remove Hatshepsut's name and image from monuments, inscriptions, and statues. Scholars have debated the reasons for this systematic erasure, with some suggesting that it was an attempt to restore the traditional male line of pharaohs, while others believe it was motivated by a desire to erase the precedent of a woman ruling as pharaoh. Hatshepsut's statues were defaced, and her name was often replaced with that of Thutmose I or Thutmose III. Obelisks she erected were hidden from view by being encased in masonry. Despite these efforts to erase her from history, Hatshepsut's monuments were too numerous and prominent to be completely obliterated, and many inscriptions and statues have survived to the present day. The erasure of Hatshepsut's name and image may have contributed to her relative obscurity in Egyptian history until modern archaeological discoveries brought her achievements back to light. It wasn't until the 19th century that scholars began to piece together the true extent of Hatshepsut's reign, largely through the study of surviving inscriptions and the excavation of her monuments. Hatshepsut was an extraordinary figure in ancient Egypt's long history, challenging the traditional gender roles of her time and leaving behind a legacy of monumental architecture, economic prosperity, and political stability. By adopting the symbols of pharaonic power, she successfully ruled Egypt for over 2 decades, ensuring peace and prosperity during her reign. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri and the depictions of her successful trade expeditions to Punt are lasting testaments to her vision and capability as a ruler. While later pharaohs attempted to erase her memory, Hatshepsut's legacy has endured, thanks in large part to the rediscovery of her monuments and the renewed scholarly interest in her reign. Today, she is recognized as one of Egypt's most successful and innovative pharaohs, a testament to her intelligence, ambition, and skill in navigating the complex politics of her time.